Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to Madam Jennifer Saidun. Today my group going to present about the research that has been done, which is student dissatisfaction with online learning academic performance. Before that, we going to introduce ourselves first. My name is Yusuf Sakafi bin Azam, will follow by
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Nurshifa binti Salmi.
Hi, my name is Nur Fatihah binti Azhar.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Syafiqah Izzati binti Zulkifli.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Adik bin Muhammad Rosali.
Okay, let's start from the introduction. Alright, firstly, this study has been done to examine student dissatisfaction with the online learning academic performance. The dependent variable is the student dissatisfaction towards the academic performance during online learning. Meanwhile, the independent variable consists of three, which is self-directed learning, technology self-efficacy, and online communication on self-efficacy. Next, background of the study. As the existence of COVID-19, the implementation of online learning was needed to ensure the continuation of the education system. Because students might face the issues regarding result from the learning process. This will cause the students to be dissatisfied. Plus, the online learning academic performance might be influenced by self-directed learning, technology self-efficacy, and online communication self-efficacy. Next, problem statement. The previous study had shown lack of self-directed learning, technology self-efficacy, and online communication on self-efficacy in online learning. That is actually influencing academic performance. Based on past researcher, Sanchez in 2021, they said students are having a hard time learning through online platform and would much rather have face-to-face learning environment. This is the three research question to find what variable influence the students' dissatisfaction in online learning academic performance. Research question 1, is there any influence between self-directed learning towards student dissatisfaction with the online learning academic performance? And research question 2, is there any influence between technology self-efficacy towards student dissatisfaction with the online learning academic performance? Research question 3, is there any influence between online communication on self-efficacy towards students' dissatisfaction with the online learning academic performance? Alright, this is the three objective of this research paper that you can see in the slide. Research objective 1, to identify the negative influence of self-directed learning towards student dissatisfaction with the online learning academic performance. Research objective 2, to investigate the positive influence between technology self-efficacy towards student satisfaction with the online learning academic performance. Research question 3, to determine the negative influence between online communication on self-efficacy towards student dissatisfaction with the online learning academic performance. Right, we jump to significance of study. Firstly, to enhance the educational system in Malaysia that can be improved. The improvement of is really important to make sure that students will achieve the main objective of the study, even if the way of the study is different compared to before. And this might be benefit the government nor the university for the future ahead. And secondly, to identify whether online learning is suitable in Malaysia, as in other culture, they are already apply and practice the online learning environment even before the COVID-19 exists. However, in Malaysia, after the pandemic, the government took the initiative for students to continue their study using a blended learning, or we call hybrid. Thus, by doing this research, we can identify whether the online learning environment is suitable or not for Malaysia, and does it achieve a full satisfaction compared to face-to-face or the current practice in Malaysia. Lastly, for future researchers reference, our research will benefit future researchers as the reference for their research in the future. We move to the terms definition. Self-directed learning is described as learning and studying on one's own initiative. Technological self-efficacy is defined as student perception of their ability to use technology tools to carry out learning activities. Lastly, online communication is defined to any interaction that take place through the internet. Alright, for the scope of study, all the data were collected in an online survey questionnaire towards the students of UiTM Puncak Alam who have experience in attending online classes. Okay, and lastly, about the limitation of the study. Firstly, there is no face-to-face survey due to COVID-19 outbreak. Some individuals will tell lies, and when it comes to facts such as their age, gender, or more. And lastly, this research is based on self-administrated questionnaire response that we might think that may have risk of bias. That's all for me. Thank you.
Now let's move on to chapter 2, literature review. This chapter will go into detail on the results achieved from a previous study regarding the dependent and independent variables in this research paper. Here you can see the dependent variables and independent variables that was mentioned earlier by Sakafi. The dependent variable is the student dissatisfaction with the online learning academic performance, while the independent variables are self-direct learning, online communication self-efficacy, and technology self-efficacy. From the previous studies by Hong 2016, Sidham and Oster 2016 and Thorne 2020, the relationship between self-direct learning towards the student dissatisfaction with the online learning academic performance is negative relationship. According to Mix Foxwell 2021, Justin and Kuzati 2020, and Han Chen Chow and Un 2010, the relationship between online communication to self-efficacy towards the student dissatisfaction with the online learning academic performance is also negative relationship. And lastly, according to Sidham and Oster 2016, Mehmet and Boskert 2020, and Firat and Boskert 2020, the relationship between technology self-efficacy towards the students' dissatisfaction with the online learning academic performance is positive.
Assalamualaikum and hello to my fellow friends and Ifa. My name is Muhammad Adib bin Muhammad Razali, and I'm going to continue the presentation with chapter 3, which is research methodology. So basically this chapter will illustrate in details about the methods used while we're doing our research. This chapter will also give a clear and organized illustration, and this chapter will be divided into 3 sessions, which are theoretical or conceptual framework, research hypothesis, and research design. Now let's move in details about the theoretical or conceptual framework. The conceptual framework basically illustrates the independent variable that affect the dependent variables, and as shown in the slide, it shows that self-directed learning, technology efficacy, and online communication self-efficacy are the factors that affect the student satisfaction with the online learning performance. Now let's move to research hypothesis. So basically there are 3 hypotheses, which are for self-directed learning, technology self-efficacy, and online communication self-efficacy. So as you can see on the slide, as for self-directed learning and online communication self-efficacy, there are negative influence towards student dissatisfaction with the online learning. Technology self-efficacy have a positive influence towards students' dissatisfaction with the online learning. Now let's move to research design. So basically research design is a research composition that supports of all the components in the research project, and it is the idea of suggesting a research project. In a word, a research design is a framework for research methodologies. And as for our research, the research design will be divided into 5 sections, which are the purpose of the study, population and sampling, development of questionnaire, data collection, and data processing and analysis. For the first research design is purpose of study. So basically our purpose of the research is to examine whether there is a correlation between the factor towards students and dissatisfaction with online learning academic. The relationship between relevant factors will be examined through the examination of feedback supplied by students enrolled in online class at UiTM Puncak Alam Selangor. This study will produce findings that will help higher education leaders to develop informed and strategic plans that will help students to overcome dissatisfaction in online learning education and overcome student performance issues in online learning efficiently. Second research design is population and sampling. And as you can see on the slide, there are three population and sampling. The first one is population, second one is sampling size, and the third one is unit of analysis. The third research design is development of questionnaire. So basically a self-administered questionnaire was used to conduct the survey. The items in the survey instrument were developed from the past research, assuring valid and reliable measurements for the variables under inquiry. To sum up, we provided over 46 questions for the respondents to answer during the survey, with 8 demographic questions and 10 questions related to dependent variable and 10 questions related to independent variables. So next is data collection. This research was based on primary data. The survey for this research was deployed as a link of Google Form containing several questionnaires to students who had experience of attending online classes at UiTM Puncak Alam. The reason for the method is to adhere to the Malaysian government COVID-19 lockdown policy and to optimal the reachability of respondents. Lastly is data processing and analysis. So once the data set from the questionnaire was obtained, analysis will be conducted using the statistical package for social sciences, or more commonly known as SPSS. For this survey, we distribute Google Form link and answered by 100 respondents. However, after the cleaning process, only 99 remained as one data set was found to be repetitive. And thank you, that's all from me. Now let's move to chapter 4.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nurul Fatihah binti Azhar and I will be presenting chapter 4, which is data analysis. The first one is data screening. Data screening involves inspecting data for errors and correcting or deleting them. By using Microsoft Excel, it helps identify any inaccuracies in the data. This research uses straight line method for removing erroneous data. Throughout this process, 1 out of 100 respondents was identified as completing the survey with consistent data. Therefore, only 99 respondents was considered acceptable in the SPSS. Next, we move on to the descriptive analysis. The table at the top left side here, which says gender, is the profile and frequency of the survey, which describes that 67.7% of the respondents are female, while the remaining 32.3% are male out of 99 respondents. The table directly above me is the age range of the respondents. 87.9% are from the age range of 18 to 24 years old, 10.1% are from the age range of 25 to 30 years old, and 2.0% are from the age range of 31 to 35 years old. Meanwhile, the table here shows that 86.9% of the respondents are doing their studies at home, while the remaining others are doing their studies at college and other locations such as rented house, which are 11% and 2% respectively. Moving on to the method of learning, as shown in the top left side of the table here, 82.8% of the respondents are doing online classes, while 14.1% are doing hybrid method, and only 3% are doing face-to-face learning method. The table at the top here illustrates that 77.8% of the respondents are students with a degree, 17.1% are students with a diploma, while the rest are students with a master and PhD, which are 3% and 2% respectively. Last but not least, the table shown here is the profile and frequency of the student semesters, with semester 1 at 6.1%, semester 2 at 5.1%, semester 3 at 11.1%, semester 4 at 14.1%, semester 5 at 49.5%, while 13.1% are from other semesters such as semester 6 and 7. Lastly, we will move on to the regression analysis. As shown in the model summary table, the value of R2 is 0.249. However, after the adjustment, the value of R2 dropped to 0.226. This shows that 22.6% of the changes in the dependent variable can be explained by all the independent variables. The other 77.4% is unexplained and may be subjected to other variables. Thus, it shows that not all variation in the dependent variable can be explained well enough by the changes in the independent variables. Next, from the ANOVA table, it shows that the f-test is significant based on the value of 0.000, which is below the accepted value of 0.05. Hence, all independent variables significantly explain dependent variables. Next is the coefficients table. From the coefficients table, it shows that self-directed learning variables p-value is below the accepted value of 0.05, and the standardized coefficients beta and t-value are at a negative. Therefore, the self-directed learning variable is not significant. However, it is supported by hypothesis 1, which states that it has a negative impact on the dependent variable. On the other hand, technology self-efficacy variable standardized coefficients beta and t-value are at a negative, and the p-value is above the accepted value of 0.05. On top of that, it is not supported by hypothesis 2, which states that it has a positive impact on the dependent variable. Therefore, the technology self-efficacy variable is not significant. Last but not least, online communication self-efficacy variable has the highest value of standardized coefficients beta of 0.577, t-value of 5.040, and p-value below the accepted value of 0.05. Therefore, the online communication self-efficacy variable is significant. However, it is not supported by hypothesis 3, which states that it has a negative impact on the dependent variable. The uncorrelation of the variables hypothesis will be discussed in the following chapter.
Next, we move on to the chapter 5. Firstly, I will present about our research discussion result. Based on the first research question, the results show that the self-direct learning variable is 0%, which is below the 5% significant level, and the t-test value of negative 3.621 is below the accepted value of 1.645. According to the researcher, self-direct learning is one of the important factors that positively influence the student academic performance during online learning. Therefore, the hypothesis 1 is rejected. Next, based on the second research question, the results show that the variable of technology self-efficacy is not significant. It is because the p-value for the technology self-efficacy variable is 18.5%, which is above the 5% significant level. On top of that, the standardized coefficient beta of technology self-efficacy is at a negative 0.162, which does not correlate with the variable hypothesis. The t-test value of negative 1.334 is below the accepted value of 1.645. Hence, it is explained that technology self-efficacy is not related to the dependent variable, as hypothesis 2 is rejected. Based on the third research question, which is online communication self-efficacy, the results show that the variable value of 0% is below 5% significant level. The standardized coefficient beta of online communication self-efficacy is at 0.577, which does not correlate with the variable hypothesis, having a negative influence on the dependent variable. The t-test value of 5.0.40 is above the accepted value of 1.645. Therefore, online communication self-efficacy is significant as it has the high standardized coefficient beta. Thus, the hypothesis 3 is accepted. Next, we move to the recommendation. Based on our discussion, only hypothesis 3 is accepted and hypothesis 1 and 2 is rejected. From this study, the online communication self-efficacy will influence the student displeasure with their online learning academic performance. So our first recommendation is the teacher and lecturer should provide the best online platform so that the student can have two-way communication. For example, like Google Meet, WebEx, Zoom, and more. This might give the opportunity for students to be more understanding on the subject that they want to learn by asking more questions. Furthermore, the online education system should be enacted by the Minister of Education to provide better personal assistance, for example, like mentor-mentee approach. So with this method, it can motivate the teacher to communicate more with their students that are left behind in the class due to the communication self-efficacy problem. This approach will encourage the students to be active in class and learn to communicate with other people. And lastly, our recommendation is the teacher and lecturer should try to keep class interesting by using all the online features that incur to avoid tiredness among the students in class. For example, using the Jamboard in Google Meet can give an opportunity for students to write their opinion or answer the question. If the online class turns out to be interesting, it will encourage the student to be more focused in gaining the knowledge. Next, we move on to the suggestion for future research. Due to the existence of COVID-19, the result analysis is not efficient enough to support the objective of the study. As a recommendation, future researchers can extend the period of study to get more accurate results, and they also can conduct research by collecting data from different countries or different universities to get a more detailed and efficient study. Furthermore, the research believes that in the future, the result will turn out to be different as the online learning will be adapted with more efficiency. So to conclude our research, basically the purpose of this research is to study the student dissatisfaction with the online learning academic performance that influenced by the factor of self-direct learning, technology self-efficacy, and online communication self-efficacy.